There we go. Great, fantastic. Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping as we go through today. Charlene and I will be presenting for about 30 minutes, leaving plenty of time at the end for Q&A. We do encourage you to use your chat function today, chat box, to pop your questions in, and Aisha's going to be supporting us behind the scenes there, collecting your questions and bringing them forwards as we get to the Q&A at the end of the session. We will be recording today's session for those that are unable to make it, so I think you're being asked for your consent for recording. And also we have put some hashtags up on the screen there and encourage you, as you talk through your communities, your networks about this work, if you could use those hashtags, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, next slide then, please, Lou. So we're all here because we identify that there is a problem with microfibers being released from textiles. So that's not new, we understand that. And the reason why we come together. So starting with the basics, the microfiber problem is not new, but the awareness is recent and evidence-based research is very much growing. Tiny fibers are released from natural, synthetic and man-made cellulosic textiles through the product life cycle. Reaching the environment through a number of different pathways. We know that these fibers have the potential to harm environment, wildlife and people within it through their presence in the ecosystems, through marine, through freshwater, air and soil, etc. And this problem intensifies as these pathways overlay over each other. And so we need to have deeper scientific interrogation of the effects of this. So we know that all fibres have this propensity to shed to some extent, and you'll keep hearing us reiterating, the importance of understanding synthetics, natural and man-made cellulosic fibres. So the work here at TMC is very much led by science to understand this and drive those factors that contribute to fibre fragmentation. We have many opportunities to address the problem through a number of different interventions in material strategies, in circular design and in environmental management approaches. We're very much rooted in getting back to the root cause, being real textile people within the team here and through our community as well. We really want to embed very, very deep textile understanding into the value chain to understand how we can design and develop materials differently to impact change as close to root cause as possible. If we can go on to the next slide, please, Lou. Thank you. So getting back to our roots, in 2016, as this topic was coming into the limelight, the focus of solutions was very much at the filtration level. These provided very tangible short-term solutions to help in raising the profile of a topic, which in the main was really invisible. You couldn't see what was going on. And it was happening at a time when plastics in the larger sense, plastic bottles in the ocean, etc., were very much in the limelight. But the filtration technologies offered some opportunities for the consumer to really understand what was happening at this very tiny, as I say, very invisible level. So as a textile person, not particularly satisfied with just relying on filtration, I really felt compelled to get back to what we understand, which is the textile science. So we looked at how we could take that textile know-how into the topic to create that change and mitigation actions that were actually required. At the time, we were able to draw from a colourful network across the industry, from suppliers, research partners, academics, labs, brands and retailers. And from there, we looked to form TMC in 2018. And that's where we're at today. So if we move on to slide 6, please. The Microfibre Consortium is the only, as far as I'm aware, global organisation working 100% on this topic from a textile perspective. We are a research-led sustainable textile NGO, and we convene the global fashion and textile sector from raw material suppliers up to policymakers. And we do that by working through 3 clear pillars that you can see on the screen there. So we work to align the industry, driving commitment to work against one agenda to scale industry engagement and activity. We work to understand fibre fragmentation rooted in textile science, looking to develop root cause change that is needed to systematically approach this topic. And then finally, we work to mitigate fibre fragmentation, and we do that through our community to deliver sustained action in those mitigation areas. Next slide, please. Within TMC, we have key tools and resources that we work with, and a lot of you will already know about the TMC test method, which has really formed the basis of the start of our work. Coming into this, we understood that we needed a very clear test method, an aligned method across the industry, so we could look at what was happening in materials from a systematic and aligned approach. That TMC test method forms the basis of everything that we're doing. So when we look to test materials, either internally ourselves, through our research partners, or with our brands and retailers, it's using the TMC test method. It gives us that consistent approach when we're looking at the results that come out. Our second tool is the Microfibre data portal. And again, an industry first in bringing together a data repository where we can put very detailed testing results together with technical specifications. And we can bring that together to form the basis of our data analysis that will help us inform back to you, brands and retailers, the learnings from what we're finding. That data portal, you will see as you go into the launch report how the information there is scaling. And as we put our calls to action out to the community, we do ask for further testing to help us understand more from the materials that everybody is testing. And then finally, to complete our toolbox, we have the Knowledge Hub, which is currently in concept stage. And this will enable a dissemination of knowledge, which is very much driven from the test method and the data portal, back into a format that can be picked up by brands, retailers and suppliers to make that product change that's actually required to create impact through the mitigation actions. Next slide, please, Lou. Currently within TMC, our network ranges across 80 different participants, from brands, retailers, research partners, academics, testing labs, etc. And you'll see on the screen there how our community is actually growing. So really great community to work with, and I can see many of you on the call today, and thank you very much for your help to date. With that, I'm going to pass over to Charlene to take you through the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie, for this great introduction. So yeah, we are here today to actually launch our progress update. And the reason why we've been developing this update is because the organization had the willingness to really keep ourselves as well as keep our community accountable. Wanted to increase our openness and also reflect on the journey we've had so far. And when I speak about the journey, I don't speak about 2018 when TMC was launched, but we reflect on what happened since the launch of the Microfibre 2030 commitment and roadmap, which took place in September 2021, so just about a year ago. So it's what happened in a time frame of 9 months. We closed the reporting period in June because then we needed time to actually put the report together, reflect, and develop the content. So next slide, please. So what is the Microfibre 2030 commitment? It's basically a collective framework. Sophie spoke earlier about the number of the organizations that make this collective what it is, and this is what we are all working towards. So we work towards zero impact of fiber fragmentation from textiles to the natural environment by 2030. It's a common ambition, a shared vision by our signatories, and where everyone is taking accountability. It's also a clear direction of travel to deepen sector knowledge and implement practical action. So it's basically a point in the future that tells us the direction where we need to go. And the next slide, please. We have, to go with that, the Microfibre Roadmap, which is our agenda. Both were launched at the same time. The agenda is basically telling what are the milestones we need to reach at certain period if we want to create change by meaningful change and impactful change by 2030. Can you click press? Thanks. So the roadmap is split into 3 periods. The activate period that started in 2021 and runs until the end of 2023. Then we have an implementation period that runs from 2024 to 2027, and then a scaling period from 27 onwards. So it's important to remind ourselves that we are actually in the activate periods where we are focusing on developing the foundation of the work, the tool, the resources, the organization, the governance to be able to implement and first and then scale. And that will happen over a period of 8 years. Next. So what we focus on in this report are the first 2 years of this roadmap, which is not even 2 years, it's 9 months, and it covers the end of 2021, when the commitment and the roadmap were launched, and halfway through 2022. Yes. Next one, please. So what have we achieved in this 9 months? Well, as Sophie mentioned, we have now 80 participants. We have worked to create alignment and alliances with other multi-stakeholder initiatives, and currently we have 7 affiliates in our network. We have 41% of our members are now signatories. So before September last year, we were a membership-based organization. And since the commitment, we are moving from a membership-based to a signatory-based organization. And there is it takes time to transition all members through to signatories. And as of June, 41% of our members had moved into signatory status. We have had, this report has been made available thanks to the input of our members and signatories of our participants, and about 65% of our participants have contributed. So we see the great engagement of the community we work with. We have right now 390 fabric that have been tested, and where the test results are in the data portal that Sophie referred to earlier. So that's quite a large database of materials that have both test results and technical specifications. Sorry, I was bothered by the chat message, but I'm back here. And that results in about 5,000 data points. So that's a great starting point to doing research analysis, data analysis. With the commitment, we are making testing compulsory to our community, and we've seen that it has worked a great deal because we've had a 38% increase in testing since the launch of the commitment and the roadmap. And to enable this testing to happen at scale, we now have 35 accredited laboratories globally. It's quite a lot of achievement in a relatively short period of time. You see the key milestones identified below. I think what's really important and not mentioned here is the work that happened in building the organization. So a key achievement, it's also building the team, building the governance, launching an advisory group, launching a technical committee to make sure that we have the right processes, procedures, and the right support in place to be able to deliver against this ambitious agenda. Next slide, please. What we're gonna do now is go pillar by pillar and look at what are the key achievements, what are the key things we have done over the course of this period. And if we start with aligning the sector and driving an aligned commitment, it's important that we increase the community that is engaged. And that's very important because only through an increased community we can drive more testing. Only through more testing we can drive more data. Only through more data we can drive the research to then move into the mitigation action, which is what we are all striving forward. So we've had an increase of 25% in our community since the launch. We have increased the collaboration, as mentioned earlier, with like-minded organizations, and the idea there is to really amplify our work on one hand, but also leverage the established tools and network. The Microfibre Consortium don't want to repeat, don't want to recreate the wheel. We want to embed fiber fragmentation knowledge and recommendation in existing tools to accelerate the implementation, to avoid duplication, and to create change. The last thing we've done more things, but the last important deliverable we've achieved, and that actually is being published today, together with the report, is we've published a glossary to establish a common language. We see that there are many terms being used, we don't always know what we mean by certain terms. And so we've decided to put out the key terminologies that refer to fiber fragmentation and define them in the way we use them and in the way we understand them. We expect this is gonna develop further until hopefully we have a global aligned language in the future. Next slide, please. The second pillar is actually understanding fragmentation. So, and this one is a core focus because we don't believe we can mitigate until we have a clear understanding of what is fragmentation, where it comes from, how it works, what's the impact to the environment and to humans. So we develop root cause understanding. And for that, as I mentioned earlier several times, we need testing. So we've seen an increase in testing by 38% since the launch. So this is another way to show the momentum in the community, to try and share test results so that we can develop the right insights and the right learning. In this 9 months, we've been able to actually really look at this portfolio of global material tests, done some early research analysis to understand the trends, and in the report, their first insights are being published. We've also been able to publish a biodegradability report and a positioning statement. This work has been developed through our community with through one of our task teams to position what does biodegradability mean in with regards to fiber fragmentation, and is biodegradability the answer? It's not. And if you want to learn a lot more, you'll find that under our resources page on our website. The positioning statement and the biodegradability report have been made public. And then the Microfibre Knowledge Hub, which was a concept since the launch, is now a prototype. So we have been able to develop a prototype so that people understand what we want to do, what it will be used for, how it will look, so that hopefully in the years to come we can develop it further to make it the go-to place for knowledge and information on fiber fragmentation. The last pillar is mitigating fragmentation. And as mentioned earlier, this is not, it is a focus because that's where we all want to go, but it's not the area where we have made the most progress, because we believe we need to strengthen our understanding before we can put the right mitigation action, because we don't want to make a recommendation that we regret. So we take this no regret approach, science-led approach, so that we understand what we base our decision and our recommendations on. So through mitigating fragmentation, we want to deliver sustained action and measurable impact. And what we've done in this area is really right now focusing on manufacturing. So we have developed preliminary manufacturing guidelines with a task team within the Microfibre Consortium, so together with our community, which is available in English, Mandarin, and simplified Chinese. And we have worked with the ZDHC Foundation to forge a partnership, a collaboration, and we will address fiber loss in wastewater and manufacturing together. So this also illustrates very well how we are aligning with like-minded organizations. The aim here is to develop the knowledge and embed it within the tools that ZDHC have already developed and implemented. So these are really the key deliverables we have achieved in this period. Do you want to go to the next page, Louise, please? I will now pass on to Sophie, because as we have learned and done a lot, we still need much more to be done if we are to create the impact we want to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlene. Great overview there of the kind of highlights from the report. And I think, you know, it's demonstrated a lot of work that's been done by the TMC community. But as Charlene says, you know, we need to call on our community to take us to the next level. You saw the roadmap at the start, and we've got a lot of information. We've got a lot of work behind us. But if we're going to support the industry going forwards, as we have put out in the roadmap and the commitment, we do need to call you to action to support us in that. And when we look at that pathway of action, really starting at the ground roots level by making sure that we can get fibre fragmentation embedded in as many sustainability strategies across the industry as possible. So as a first kind of takeaway from this is, you know, identifying, is fibre fragmentation currently in your organisational strategy? If not, how can we get it there? Because really, once we can get it into people's strategies, we can start to see that kind of pathway of how you can start to get more and more engaged. The second point on that journey of action is signing up to the Microfibre 2030 commitment. We have seen, as you saw in the numbers that Charlene presented, we are transitioning our membership to signatories to hold our community accountable for the actions that are being taken. Small contributions by individual organisations supports the entire community. So that's the next stage on your path of action. Join the Microfibre Consortium. We are here to support you. We work across the topic, as you saw at the beginning. You know, I think we are the only 100% focused organisation to this topic. And we love to support brands, retailers, suppliers, organisations that are stepping out on this journey through our community. Test, test, test. You'll hear us say this a lot. We really want to close that data gap. We've got a huge amount of data, but we need more. By taking your actual test results from your live, your real material portfolios, we can provide that information back to you in the most valuable way to support you as you develop your material portfolios further. So we really do ask people to test as much as they can using the data portal, the Microfibre data portal, to enable us to do that collective data analysis that's required for the understanding element of this topic. Share your insights to close the knowledge gap. Many of you have teams within your organisations that are also working on this. And we really love the relationships we have with some of our community where they bring that information forwards, bringing it into our task teams, bringing it into the reports as we're developing them, etc. You know, this needs to work for the collective industry and not just one organisation alone. And then finally, looking to funding. You know, as we said at the beginning, we've put out a very ambitious roadmap. We would love to go into the depths that's required in certain areas, you know, delving into toxicology, into air, into other areas that we're not currently working on. We can only do that through this collective funding against this clear agenda. So next slide, please, Lou. So with that said, did want to talk about funding. We have many opportunities and we're seeing interest from people to come forwards and fund specific areas in order that we can close that knowledge gap. We really want to strengthen and deepen our data analysis work. And we can do that through upgrading our microfibre data portal. When we first developed the data portal, we didn't imagine that we would be getting to this scale as quickly as we have done. So that is testament to the hard work of the team and the community. But we really want to make sure that the data portal is fit for purpose as we scale the knowledge, scale the data analysis as we go forward. So huge opportunities there for supporting you better through that. We want to also broaden and deepen our topic research. What I love about this topic is you learn something and then more questions come up. We want to make sure that we are answering the questions that are being posed in front of us as we're kind of delving deeper into the research. You know, you hear us talk about toxicology, you hear us talk about air pollution, but every little part of research that we turn over offers other opportunities for deepening our understanding. And we really want to make sure we are that go-to place for topic understanding. We want to develop a training curriculum for brands, retailers and supply chain partners. We are starting to develop a really good portfolio of tools and resources, but what we're hearing from you is we need to embed that within training. We have the infrastructure to do that, but we require funding to take it to the next level. And then finally, you heard Charlene and myself talking earlier on in the presentation about the Knowledge Hub. Something that I'm really excited about, coming from a brand background, making sure that we have an infrastructure that you can get this really robust information, knowledge dissemination on a 24/7 through a very intuitive online platform. So we would love to develop that, taking it from its concept level to open access across the industry. Next page, please, Lou. So key messages to wrap up on the presentation today. The progress update here demonstrates accountability. It shows the 2021-2022 milestones are either on track or achieved, so that's great. As Charlene said earlier, we're currently in our activate phase, so the focus has really been on building those strong foundations, as you heard about the advisory group, the technical committee, the governance of the work. Collaboration with key like-minded organisations has grown to embed knowledge within our existing networks. And then also the key resources have been published to advance topic understanding in areas such as biodegradability, manufacturing guidelines, glossary, etc. Moving on to the Microfibre Data Portal, it forms the backbone of the Microfibres Consortium's science-led approach, which is fantastic. It has been strengthened in terms of both its structure and its volume of data, with an increase in testing, as you saw earlier, of 38% since the launch of the commitment, which is phenomenal. So thank you for those that have been supporting that. The first insights into the collective portfolio of global material tests have been highlighted in the report, and the analysis shared. And then finally, in our key message, a fresh call to action back to the industry to help us close that data gap, the data gaps and the knowledge that is required there. And we can do that by identifying fibre fragmentation as a challenge and embedding it in people's sustainability strategies, and asking people to commit to work towards zero impact from fibre fragmentation. Then as part of that call to action, as you heard before, sharing your results into the data portal, sharing learnings, sharing insights to help us close the knowledge gap. And then finally, the key message as a call to action for funding required to take us to the next level.